And we are recording. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the SIYP podcast Uncensored. David was just saying shortly before I started the recording that this is an intimate session, so you guys are in for an intimate podcast.
Yeah. Oh no.
How are you, David?
I'm doing good. Well, should I start? Should I just start off?
Go for it. It's just you and me.
Fantastic. So I remember that talk. The last time I was on, I was talking about the possible eviction.
Mm, mm-hmm.
Anyways, I was completely off with the dates, and I thought I was supposed to start. Created an agreement, but I thought the agreement was supposed to start in August 1st. But no, it actually started June 6th, which I knew I didn't have the money. And I saw the date on there. I was like, I shouldn't have signed it, but I signed the document, and now I'm in the process of eviction. So it was just like, I was like really panicky. I was like, wait a minute, what am I putting out to the world to cause this? Because everything comes from within us. So I changed the conversation to, because I was fearful. I was just like, oh my goodness, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And so I was just like, what am I putting out? And that's what I'm discovering right now. And I think it goes back way back to when my father passed away. I was a witness to his death. So and I had to actually stand up in court and talk about it and stuff like that. It was really awkward and it was awful actually. And so I believe it's coming from that because when I was younger, I always had money in my pocket, like always had money in my pocket. I was never without. And then after my father passed away, so actually I was 19 when my father passed away, and that's when started this cycle of loss started happening. And I lost my properties. I had three houses, and I lost them all. And then I built up a business with a business partner, and I lost it all. And then I wish relationships I would have lost because I shouldn't have been in some of them for as long as I was. But what else? Um, but then there's just more losses. I was evicted once in the past. And then there was eviction another time was coming up in the past, and then now the October actually I was in the process of possible eviction at that time as well. So it's just like there's a pattern happening. So it's about discovering where I am in the pattern. And when I discover the pattern, then I can actually start looking more of how to clear this, because that's all it is. And yeah. So then, and anyways, I was kind of like sitting there, like this fear was coming at me from the outside. And it's just like, oh my goodness, what do we do? What do I do? And then my mom called. I was just like, oh, what the hell? You know what? I'm just going to tell her. I was like, Mom, I was like, I don't want you to feel obligated. And I wanted to let you know what's happening. And I just let her know exactly what's happening. And she was like, okay. And and I was completely calm after that. It was like the fear completely vanished. It disappeared. So it was almost like this being that was actually trying to get me to step into the fear because once I step into the fear, then I'm holding on to it now. And I have affinity for it. But now I've just let go of the affinity. And also throughout my life, I was always petrified of being homeless. Petrified of being homeless. So there was affinity of me being homeless. And I don't want that. So it was about I believe it was about letting that go. And that's what happened. It just let go. And then I called up the office. I was like, because it says like everything completes on August the 3rd. And called the office and I was like, well, how long does it take for you to change the locks? He goes, it takes quite a while. He goes, there's a huge process that we have to follow. And I was like, okay, cool. So yeah, and I know money's coming. I turned on my YouTube channel just to scroll through and see what. It was funny. The messages were Pisces. I'm a Pisces. Money's coming to you. And then I actually went. I watched this one. one person who did card readings, and they said you feel like you're giving, like you're just ready to give up, and they're like, don't give up right now, just continue forward, and money is coming, like very soon. And they all said that. And actually, the day I got the notice in my mailbox, that night, I actually got an angel number on my alarm clock, which is 1111. I know they come up all the time, but I've never ever seen that on my alarm clock. And
Hmm.
especially just before bed, it's just like that was really nice to see. Like it was like spirit saying, "Relax, everything's cool. Don't worry, we got this." And then there's one also thing I was so actually when I was the fear was coming at me, I was looking at so I was writing down just like what am I fearful at right now? And it's just like I fear actually I'll pull up the I think I have the list in front of me. Um maybe I don't. It doesn't matter.
No, but it like I
But
just
the
like it's important to write it down, or just to like have it in reality where the fear is coming from. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
yeah, because then you can see it.
Mm.
And then I wrote down I have a fear of trusting God. But then I was just like, but then after I wrote everything down, I was just like, wait a minute. If I had a fear of trusting God, I wouldn't have gone to Florida because that was all me following the breadcrumb trail. So I wouldn't have gone to Florida. I would have been at home, and that actually would have been stepping into fear. I was into non-belief, and I was just like, so it's not God that I'm not trusting. And I was just like, wait a minute, it's me that I'm not trusting. And guess who's housing God? Me. So it's one and the same. So it's just like, and now it's about me trusting me because I know God's got my back all the time. And it's just, it's just me saying, believing. So actually, I did some mirror work. I actually looked at myself in the mirror. I don't know if people out there know about this, but mirror work is you connect eye to eye in the mirror. And if you're first new at it, do it for as long as you can. But try to get up to 5 minutes because it really gets you to connect to you. And then I was actually speaking to myself eye to eye in the mirror. I have faith in you. I believe in you. And I just spoke that until I was just like crying. And then just the belief is starting to flow through because it's me that has to create me. There's a scripture out there. It's not for religion, but I don't know. I thought it was kind of narcissistic, but it's Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes unto the Father but by me." But there's something um, incredible is when you take that finger and you point that finger at yourself and you say, "I am the way." This is actually how I believe the scripture is supposed to be. I am the way because you are the one that has to change. Jesus isn't going to change for you. No one's going to change for you. You have to change for yourself. And I am the truth. The truth lives within me. And I am the light. I am the one that has to keep this light going. I can actually follow the darkness all day long if I want to. That's taken the light away from me. So it's about me keeping that light going. And then I am the one that actually communicates with the Father because the Father speaks directly to me, communicating the path for me to suggestions of paths to walk on, which would be a good path to take. So that's where I've been.
There's so much you've shared, and like usually in all of our podcasts. So first of all, thank you for sharing that. It was really, really beautiful and so real. And usually in all of our podcasts, like I always have something to say, but here I didn't want to say anything because it was so beautiful. Um, I have a couple things that I just want to ask out of curiosity, but more beautifully in alignment to everything you said, because a lot of the things you shared, things started showing up for me. How what we've three of us, Hazel, you, and me, what we've created in SIYP is in literally the fear chapter, the fear module, we said primarily it's our mind or our brain trying to come up with these things that might be like a vision because it's our eyes, or it's our hearing or our thoughts or whatever words or language. It's usually like our mind coming up with these things to keep us safe or keep us in the known, what we know of. However, a fear sometimes it's like a form of judgment from the work that the three of us have done,
Mm.
that we see and we think there's nothing else because our brain, like our bodies are programmed to keep us safe, but that could also keep us small. Like how you were saying, if you would have chosen fear, you wouldn't have gone. If you wouldn't have chosen God, for example, because you were fearful of him, that wasn't per se your reality, but it was your fear that kind of created this judgment that might have been foreseen as reality. And then when you addressed the fear, it's like you kind of welcomed in the fear just to see what's going on. What is this fear? Who are you? And then the fear showed up as, yeah, you are scared of God. You're fearful of God. And then when you were like, wait a second, that's not true. It's exactly what we're looking at SIYP, where it could be seen as like stepping into the darkness or stepping in against a specific way or being small or being limited. There's so many ways that could like give sense to fear, but the beauty is fear is just another form of judgment where there's nothing right or wrong. It's just when we are governed by fear, because it's like a subconscious thing, we don't realize what's going on. If we just don't do the work you did, which again, this is another point I wanted to say. You brought up that the fear of loss could be, attached to the losing of your dad, and condolences about that for sure. Like when you went so far into trying to figure out where the fear is coming from, not to be like, oh, okay, I figured it out. It's because I lost my dad. It's more like you were just trying to question this fear, and then once you have power over the fear is where you can actually give it up, because now it's real, like this judgment, you see it. So it was so beautiful when you said that, and it could be, as a result of the loss of your father. It could have nothing to do with the loss of your father, but now that you see it, you're just like, if this is something that's holding me back, I release you, so you don't hold me back anymore. I've got goosebumps just talking to you about this. But like when you were sharing all of that, it was so beautiful, because I'm like, it's not important to be like, I know what's holding me back. It's to see how what might be holding you back could be holding you back, and you release it. There's no figuring out the past. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's an affinity. When we have this fear, it's we're holding on to it, so we have an affinity to it. And once we let go of it, then that affinity disappears.
Then you don't have the fear anymore. And like that
Yeah.
happens so much in my life. Like I see so much, and it's not an assessment or a judgment per se, but I can see it where a lot of people have things in their past that show up, and they don't know why. We don't know why it shows up, but it shows up. It could be from our past, from our upbringing, from our society, from our exposure. It could be so many things, but it's not important what it is. It's just that it does show up. And when people are in this fear, you see them go into this state where they disconnect from reality, and their fear becomes the reality. Like, what my parents were going through. Remember, they were looking for a house and everything, and their whole life was, we're going to be homeless. But then just through the creation of like possibility, opportunity, and conversation, they got an extension. But till that time, and my mom would still always say, oh, I'm so grateful the landlord gave us an extension. And I'm like, true, yes. However, see what's possible when you realize the fear, and you take a look at the fear, and you realize that the fear is not really as big as we think it is, but we're giving it all of this power. Once you give that up, the fear doesn't exist, and then possibility happens.
Yes. Well, actually, possibility is always there.
True.
It's what we're holding on to. So I have this idea that when we become nothing, then we become everything. Like once we give up all possibilities within ourselves, then we become all possibilities. And what I mean by that is, let's say I have, well, actually, I was gay for, no, let's not do that. Let's go with,
I just wanted to say
um,
one thing about that, like the labels and everything. Again, like
yes,
it,
yes.
it doesn't matter.
It's,
It's just
it's, it's getting rid of the label.
yes.
Once we get rid of the label, because when we choose that label, or actually when we take on that label, then we start becoming that label.
I agree.
So, so I don't. I'm not going to.
No,
Well,
no, no.
we'll
But
say. I'd say Christianity, because a lot of people in Christianity are very judgmental. So if I say I'm Christian, then it's all the Christianity stuff's going to start coming out. I'm going to start becoming that. But I don't want that. So that's why I don't call myself a Christian, for one thing. So I don't believe in most of the stuff they say. And I refuse to call myself that, because I actually want to be in that space of all possibilities. So when we are starting to become the being of the title that we took on, then all of the other possibilities that could have been around that will disappear, because now that beingness is overpowering the other ones. Does that kind of make sense?
yeah, it's the labels absolutely, and like again, I try to stay away from labels because even the definition of that label is completely subjective. It's very hard to figure out what is the objective of that label, be it someone with a condition, someone with a preference, someone with a choice, someone with a religion, someone with whatever. You might have your definition, I might have mine, and then it kind of ruins the beauty of the label because everyone's got their own point of view, and then fear comes up, judgment comes up, detachment, attachment, resistance, everything we talk about at SIYP. No, but like it's good to have that, like what you said about Jesus. I relate with that because yes, I've learned the religious Christian faith. I'm not a hardcore Christian. However, one thing while you were sharing that is also in primarily all the scriptures, I think Hinduism has this too. Um, God, Almighty, higher being, higher source, whatever the higher being is, has one consistent thing, which is you would only be given what it is you can do. Everything else you can't do will not will is it's not in your hands, it's in the hands above. So whatever you're going through is planned, designed and everything, and the best way for you to do it is by surrendering. And if fear shows up and everything, how you can actually go back to surrender to it is look at the fear like, hey, where's this coming from? And again, going back to what you said, it's like it doesn't necessarily have to be that specific element, but just the power of going into, okay, hi fear, I see you. Let's take a look at this because I want to be free from it. That already is power versus, oh, like, okay, I'm
Um,
going to be homeless. Yeah.
so wanting to be free from it is actually still holding it, because you don't want to be free from it. It's just you want to look at it and take a look at it and then just release. So it's not about wanting to be free, because that still has an affinity to it.
You're wanting to be free
Because you're
from
trying.
something. Yeah, so it's like that's why you're still attached to it. That the affinity you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
It,
Because it's darkness. It's darkness that's tried. So I like to look at it as beings, like entities that we can't see, that actually, because if you ever walk down the street and then all of a sudden it's just like a beautiful day, you're all wonderful, and you look in a shop window, and then next thing you know, you're just thinking about some someone that was like from 10 years ago that punched you in the face, or that said hello to you the way you didn't like to say people told hello to. It's just like, why at that moment in time? And
yeah.
that's what we've got to question is, there's something that comes along and puts a thought into our mind, and then we latch onto it and we hold on to
Yeah.
it and
And
we run with it. and
and
great stories and wonderful.
that's actually what I was trying to get to. It's just, and most of these things happen where in the moment when that fear shows up, that trigger shows up, it's not very hard. It's difficult, let's say, to in that moment question like what's going on here. So like how you said, most of us like go with it, run with it, or have it take over us.
Mhm.
Majority of us don't even know what's going on. It's like we're in this whole different realm. So where people can start questioning it, or just trying to be aware of, well, okay, so I was having a lovely day. What happened? What happened that, switched? And then having like some people could take an hour conversation where they sit in nature and they're just like, okay, what went on? Some people can have a 2 minute like, oh, that person wore this perfume that reminded me of my ex and it triggered. Got it. And it's detached. Like for example, so it's just the more people go into the awareness, and I think that's the beautiful thing of SIYP. It's not like a coaching guideline book. It's not something you learn. It's just something you see, you recognize, and you become aware, so that the elements of detachment, resistment, gratitude, forgiveness can then open, ultimately stepping into this better version of yourself, or the best version of yourself. And I
Yeah,
think,
yeah, that's actually the best way to say it, because better means that you're judging yourself.
yeah, it's the best in
So the
that
best,
moment.
the best is the future that you can't even see yet. That you're just like, I don't know who that person is, and I'm
Yeah.
excited to find out who that person is.
Yeah, you had a great week. I mean, or I would say the last 2 weeks were like with all of that, like because we didn't have you on last week, but yeah, no, I think this was one of I love this share. I mean, I love all your shares, but like I love this one a little bit more. Thank you for sharing. Anything else for you?
And this is actually, so I did also something called a waka because I actually wanted to to get more clients. And so I did a waka for the client. So what that is I take my medicines, 4 medicine stones out of my 13 stone altar, and then I blow into it who I am being at that moment in time, and then I put it in each direction. So the east starting with the east, then I go to north, west, and then south. And then I do that for 30 days. I put it up to my forehead every day, and then I just blow into it where I am. Then I just bring down the energies from the heavens and fill up that space. So that's actually what's been, I believe, has been provoking all of this to start boiling up to the surface. So I was kind
Nice.
of, I guess, expecting it a bit. Expecting something to happen.
No, no, I mean, like what also can be taken from that is it's probably like a routine, but it's powerful because you are able to see what works. So in case, we fall off track or we fall off something, and everyone has their own routine or their routine that works to just get into that state of clear bliss, or to reduce the noise or whatever fears, judgments show up. um, yeah, that's
Yeah,
really great.
because when we go into those that noise that's in our head, and we actually start accepting it, then we're just going into it and we're creating more of that. But
Yeah.
when we can actually go, no, I'm not accepting you, and then let it go, and then that way we can actually move on in a completely different direction.
Yeah, I think the most important thing here to remember is we have the ability and the power to choose how things impact us, because like there could be some instances of fear, like if when you were younger that you put your hand in the fire and you burnt yourself, obviously now there's a fear of being burnt again. You're not going to put your hand in the fire again, right? So there's some instances of fear, but the powerful thing is you choosing how the impact goes versus being at the impact of it without realizing what's going on.
Exactly, which is being a victim of our own circumstances that we created.
Without even knowing
It's
it,
just-
without even knowing it. And that's why that's why like I love it. I love it when people go like, wow, I can't believe I was doing that to myself. Not like weakness, just the awareness is where beauty comes from.
yeah,
Yeah,
the observation, observing and wearing, like being conscious.
absolutely. Anything else
So I
you want to
remember one
add?
time
Yeah.
I wasn't conscious at all. Actually, because when I first started driving Uber, it was just like I saw how unconscious I was. I was driving up Spanana Avenue in Toronto. I checked my blind spot. And next thing you know, it's like there was legs in the back of my car. I was like, crap, how did these people get in my car? Where did I pick them up from? Where am I taking them? I was all panicky, and I discovered I was actually dead. I was living. I had a pulse, and so I was walking around and all that stuff. But I was actually dead because I didn't know what was going on. How do you not know that you have passengers in your car and you're driving for a living? How do you not know? Like really, like that's not a person who's alive. That's a person who's just like whatever
Yeah.
in
Well,
in in in, in God's waiting room, waiting for death to come. Pretty much.
like I was actually gonna say something very similar to what you just said. It's not like we're not, it's like we're there, or how they say the lights are on but no one's at home. It's just like
Yeah,
you're living, but it's probably the universe spirit or higher being that's just like you are not on the right path. And if we don't discover that for ourselves, there's going to be ways or things that show up, like how you said the 1111. Like if people listening to the podcast or watching the podcast are like, yeah, they have these interesting moments that show up, and if they constantly show up, that should be your opportunity or your window to then just practice the awareness. Start questioning these things,
yeah,
not to be like, oh, I want to hold myself in the past. No, actually, you are releasing yourself from whatever
yes,
is holding you, be it from the past, be it from the now, or your non-existent future. The awareness is power.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I'm complete.
You are complete. Okay. My week, like the reason why I was going to that conversation is like my week was kind of similar. So this week, I mean, you weren't here last week, and last week I shared a little bit about how, remember, I went from this new state of not checking in with my mom and dad for their apartment. I was like, I would only check in if they need my support, because me thinking that I needed to save them or like figure it out for them gave me more stress when they weren't like really acting in my judgment. So I gave that up. And last week, I spoke to my parents, and I spoke to my sister, and turns out they did need me for something related to what I was trying to be of service to them anyway. But then I was like, I was good and content because they didn't ask me for help. But then when I reached out to them, they did want that help. So like last week was a bit interesting because then I had to help them when I was like, oh, if you guys want me to help you, I would help you. And they did. So I was like, okay, shoot, now I have to do that. So, but it was nice. It was
That's
nice.
funny.
Yeah. I mean, it was nice because then I felt I was of service to them. Yes, I went through whatever emotions I had to go through because I was like, oh, they can do this themselves. But it was good because I was accountable to what I said I would do, and I was still of service to them. So it was like a win-win. That was good because I could create that best version of myself. Work is good. I mean, there are things that are showing up at work that I wouldn't go too much into it, because what I'm realizing now in our share is there was fear. Like let's say if I shared before you did, it would be me saying it and then you saying your share again. It would take more time. But since you just shared the fear thing, that showed up for me too, a lot of instances this week triggered fear for me. Like something at work, I was assessed and evaluated for a training, and my results were not great. And I went into fear, like, oh, great. So now that, my evaluation was bad, that means I'm not a good senior trainer. That means they're going to let me go. That means I'm going to have to, like, deal. I went into all of that, but I kind of did something showed up for me similar to you, which is like, I looked at the fear. I looked at like what's going on here. Like, if they really think my evaluation was that bad, they would have that conversation because it impacts the job. But they didn't specifically say I'm a bad trainer. They just brought up points that I didn't get and I could improve. So in that fear, it was actually kind of powerful because I was like, okay, I can choose in this moment to hate the person that evaluated me, to hate the company I work for, and like to accuse them, how dare they insult me, or I could be like, these fears that did come from my past, like it did come from, I would fail all my exams in high school, so I would go and see the principal. So when someone said I didn't do good, it took me back to the principal's office, so there are real life instances, but I was like, why am I choosing to go into that fear? Why am I choosing to not be in a good place? Why don't I change the conversation, which is exactly like you said it first, like why don't I change the conversation to be like, these people want the best of me and they are teaching me to be better, to be better than my current self. So, I would, in that moment, I was able to transition into, I am not a victim of this fear that happened that needs to happen now. I can see it as they really do care about me, and that made me feel good. So, that happened at work. Similarly with the family, I'm now being of service. I don't need to go into the fear that, oh, my family doesn't want to do anything and they're just going to dump it all on me. I don't need to create that kind of life for myself. I can create the life that it's good that I'm supporting my family and I'm supporting them how they want to be supported. So, that was there too. All from fear. And I know my fiance just came back, so she can't hear me. Hopefully she can't hear me. But like even with my fiance,
That's
there's
just the fear.
that's a fear also. Yeah, you guys are experiencing live fear. Um, but even with my partner, with my fiance, there are times that I could be governed by fear, she could be governed by fear, and where we where we disconnect in each other is when the fear starts, you know, performing, starts calling the shots, starts presenting itself live. It's interesting because we get to see when we're generating in fear versus generating in self. So we're working on that, but I think
What do- what
gradually. Sorry.
what do you mean by the fear that instead of generating itself? I got
So
confused there.
so like for me, what I was telling you earlier is sometimes when one is under fear, it's very hard to even question where the fear is coming from, depending on the impact
Yeah.
of the fear. Some people might just be like, no, I don't want to look into this. I'm pissed. I'm stressed. I am overwhelmed, you know? So what is interesting is when we are in this state that I don't like, she doesn't like, or we don't like, we are starting to see, whether consciously or subconsciously, that it's not our true selves. It's like the anger, the stress, the frustration is not her or me, it's our fear. So like that's what I mean. Gradually we are starting to become aware of this. We're starting to identify that, okay, this I'm pissed at you is not because Zayshan is pissed at Rebecca. It's because Zayshan's fear is creating this lens or filter that I see you through, and that's causing the anger. Like that's what we're getting into. Which obviously, the more we work out this muscle, the more it wouldn't have such a severe impact. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but it all just comes down to fear. And I think one of the best thing in this podcast could be, fear is just another form of judgment.
It's 100% judgment
Yeah.
because well for example, so when I got this piece of paper that says August 3rd, you're not going to be a member anymore. It was all it is words in a piece of paper, and then I created the rest.
You mentioning this right now is
100% created all the rest.
it's exactly what I told Rebecca. I was like, I don't. It was something like, like we made plans, all right, and I said, I usually like to plan my day in advance, and I have it like strategized. And I just told her, you like to plan things. You're more spontaneous. I'm like not as spontaneous as you are. Like I meant it in that kind of sentence. And I told her the same thing. I was like, I just said words, and we choose to give meaning to those words. But if we take that meaning away from the words and just take the words for the what the words are, everything else dies.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was just judging that the date. That's all it was.
Yeah. And
And
then
judging myself that I'm not paying it, and judging myself, and probably more judging ourselves. Well, that's what a judgment is, judging ourselves.
mhm. Yeah.
We think we're judging someone, we're not, we're judging ourselves.
I always used to have like this huge thing against like I don't like judgment and I want to give it up, but it needs to exist for us to be aware of it to then give it up and
Yeah,
constantly give it up and have
yeah,
it show up and give it up.
yeah. And it's practice. It takes practice. So if you're out there and you're starting to discover this, then be kind to yourself and just look at it. When you're in fear, just look. That's all we're asking you to do. And then you can actually choose from there. Because you're in a place of power at that moment in time. You can actually choose. That's the great thing is you can choose these circumstances that we created, which we call hell, and we can live it and have fun with it. Or we can actually choose to let it go and have fun in a different way.
And have peace.
That's
Like,
what I prefer.
and there's a
Yeah.
lot of peace that comes with it. There's a lot of relief. There's a lot of like weight, that is just given up. And and the best beautiful part is once that weight is gone, so much more can be created, like because now you don't have that stress, you don't have that fear, you don't have that burnout, that headache, that exhaustion. You have excitement, you have curiosity, you have like just happiness, jolly, like you have so much better, so much more.
Yeah.
I am complete. This was a good podcast.
Awesome.
I like this one.
Yeah, it was yeah, we were like super chatty Cathy's today. It was great.
It needs to be more men intimate SIYP podcast shows. Anyway,
Oh, so we were not chatty Cathy's. We were chatty Kens.
chatty Kens. Yeah, pretty much. All right. Okay. Same time next week, maybe.
Yeah, same time
Okay.
next. Well, actually, I'm going Central Time. We'll have to
We'll have to see.
see. But yeah, yeah. I should probably. I'll make it. Let's make it. I'm gonna make it. There we go. Done.
We do have our YouTube channel. That's another thing I wanted to say. I created the YouTube channel and I've been posting the videos also. So they are on the SIYP channel on YouTube. So people can watch them on Spotify, on YouTube, or listen to them also on Apple Music. But I did want to let you know this. I wanted to share the YouTube channel was actually banned again. So like my social media is banned because of the SIYP thing, but I'm probably gonna get that back. So YouTube did the same, and then YouTube fixed it. So I don't know. People are confronted by self development. It appears. Anyway, have a
Oh, so
great weekend.
it's just because someone says something, or why do they ban it?
I think because I uploaded all the videos at the same time, and they were like maybe they thought it was a robot.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
But maybe this is a pattern that you need to look at,
No, no, but it's
an
not me.
opportunity for you to look at.
It's SIYP. But like anyway, it wasn't from me.
Yeah, yeah, but no, but it's you're the one putting up the information and stuff, so it's coming through you. So there's could be something that you're putting out that actually may be causing it. And it's just a place to look from
True. Anyway, we got less
because
than a
it
minute.
may actually show up in other parts. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Have a great weekend. Ciao. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.